This is a guide showing how to make custom components in Flash. So let's just get started. I'm gonna make a new project. I'm just gonna pick ActionScript 3 Flash project. And the first thing I want to do is to create a new symbol, a new movie clip. I'm just gonna call it my component. And I'm gonna enable ActionScript for this one. And for this one I'm gonna create a component classes folder where I'm gonna save all my component classes. So let's just call them components. And the class name should just be the same as the component name. You can pick any other, but I'm gonna pick this one. Keep it as a move clip because we're gonna need a small timeline with 2 frames. Yes. Okay, so now we're inside the move clip, and the first thing I want to do is to create the component frames that we need for the component. And we'll need this 2 frames and 3 layers. In the first layer, we're gonna call it the layer avatar. This is where we're gonna put the placeholder where the size is gonna be read. It's gonna be read from. The next layer is for the skins, and the last layer is for the shim, which we are gonna come back to. So let's first create our avatar. We're gonna select the first frame in the first layer, and we're gonna choose the rectangle tool. Just create a quick rectangle. I'm gonna put this rectangle in 0, 0, and create a new move clip for that. I pressed F8 to get into the convert to symbol. You can also use modify convert to symbol there. This is our avatar, so let's call it my component avatar. Let's keep all the assets for the component in the same naming. So if we're gonna eventually create other components inside this document, we can also always keep track on where the components are being laid out in folders and naming. So this avatar, we don't really need ActionScript and our frames or scripts. This is just gonna be a placeholder that's gonna be read from the stage. So let's press OK. So this avatar actually represents the sizing of our component. When we're gonna start programming the component, we're gonna refer to this as the dummy size. So this will only represent the initial size. Afterwards, we can always rescale the component in the editor mode. So for now it's okay just having this size. We can always change that later. Next, I would want to go into my library and create some folders. So let's create my component assets and put all my assets in here. In this folder, I would also want to have a private folder where I keep all my stuff that doesn't necessarily is a skin or something that I want that the end user would want to edit. So my private objects is something like the avatar, that something that shouldn't be messed with. So I'm also gonna create a folder called skins, where I could put in all my graphics that is gonna be that the user can edit. So let's start by converting the move clip into an actual component. So we're gonna go into component definition, and in here we're gonna point to the same class that we're gonna look at later. So it's gonna be components dot my component, like this. It's very important that it's exactly the same, or else we will get some errors. on this little icon we can choose an PNG icon for our component, but let's for this guide I'm gonna skip that out. This should be pretty explanatory. If you go down to custom, select it and go down to custom, you can pick a PNG and it will work right off the bat. So all these actually needs to be checked off, and we need to have the edit frame in frame 2. This is where the user can double click on the component, go inside it, and start editing the skins. For the Flash player, we're gonna go back to Flash Player 9 because this is the first Flash player that has ActionScript 3 enabled. Because we're gonna build the component in ActionScript 3. This is the very least Flash player version that we can use. So this will have the biggest target audience. For the tooltip, this is something that will come up in your components panel when you have all your components. You can point on the component, and this will show you what the component does. So I'm just gonna say my component tooltip just as a dummy placeholder text. This parameters are locked in instance is a very smart choice, that if the user is gonna use your components in a lot of different instances, gonna drag out a lot, let's say 5 components. If you haven't checked this off, every time the user change something in one of the components, it will change in all the components. But for this one, we're gonna have every instance as a unique instance. So we're gonna keep that checked off, so every instance can be edited in its own environment. Yes, we're gonna come back to this this pop-up when we have coded the component and we need to edit our variables and eventually make the live preview version. So let's just press OK here. We can see that the component is now a real component, but it doesn't really work now because the class doesn't exist. The class folder doesn't exist. A lot of things are missing. So let's start by creating the skins for the class for the component. These are the some move clips that we're gonna code up against in our class. So let's start up by creating a background for the component, and for this I'm gonna have a rounded box, so we can see this the special scaling mode that we have in the live preview, that that the component shows in the editor mode. So it's just gonna be a box like this. Of course, I'm gonna put it in 0, 0, so it's easier to code the size up against. If I were to move it out, I would always have to account for the 0, 0 point and the offset. So let's just keep it in the center, in the 0 point. So I'm gonna convert this this clip into a move clip, and for this I'm gonna choose enable 9 slice scaling. To preserve the rounded corners. I'm gonna give this a class name. Let's just call it my component PG, and keep this as a move clip. We can also create a sprite from this, but let's just keep it as a move clip and call it my component here. Yes, everything is fine. We're not gonna create any custom classes for this. We just need the class name to be able to link it in the class. Let's jump into the background and just let's adjust the 9 slice guides, so we're just exactly going to where the curve is starting. So if I jump into my component, also you would want to move your skins, all your skins, into the frame 2, which was the editable frame, and in the skins layer. So this is where the end user can come in and eventually reskin the component if he wants a new design on it. So let's see. The 9 slice guides are working fine. The rounded corners is being preserved. I'm gonna press Control T to get my transform panel up, and press this button to remove any transformation I just did, just to keep it 100%, and eventually move it back in 0, 0. Okay. So this background, we're gonna code this background so it's gonna be exactly the same size as the component. I can see I have a small scaling offset, but we're gonna the component is gonna fix that by itself, and when the live preview is gonna come up, the user can rescale it as he wants to. But for now this is okay. Let's also create a text inside the component that the user is going to be able to edit. So let's call it text, white text. Let's pick another font here. So it's a big sum. Okay, just like this. This could be like a frame title or something. So what we need to remember is to set this as a dynamic text, and just define the spacing we have for this text, and remember to embed the characters. And let's just call this component font. Okay. So let's see if I can select it. Oh, it is selected. For this this text layer, I'm gonna give it a move, put it inside a move clip. Again, I press F8 to convert the text layer to a move clip. And my my component text, or title, let's call it title, and let's keep it as a move clip. We could also go in and say sprite, and this would eventually convert this display object into a sprite, which would give a small performance increase. But just for the simplicity, let's just keep it as a move clip. If in case we want any animation inside, the sprite container cannot contain any timeline or tweening animation. Of course, it can contain coded tween animations, but not timeline animations. But the move clip can. So inside the move clip, I'm gonna refer to the text layer as just text. So or the label actually. So we can also we can always get into the move clip and put some text into the text field. If I were to animate this in like an intro effect, I would convert this into either a sprite or move clip again, and then animate this move clip inside this container. So we would have to go down 2 levels if we want to edit the text with ActionScript. But the reason I want to do that is that inside the component in the skins layer, I would have all my design elements that I could move around. So we cannot extend the timeline here to add animation. So I'd have to add the animation inside here. And because animation is not working correctly on text layers, you can do it, but on each keyframe the text layer will have to have reinserted the text. It will just fall back to the standard text. So you always need to create a container around an animated object. But for this sake, we're just gonna keep it with no animation. So let's also create a button that the user can choose to press or to add action to. And Yeah, I guess I created a white. Let's just let's give it a gradient. Linear gradient. As oh, yeah, the gradient is locked, so we can do it like this. Okay, I'm gonna cut it out and paste it in. When I cut it out and paste it in, it will be put on the top level. Oh, I don't know why this is happening. Seems like the background wants to wants to stay on top. So let's just put it underneath. We're gonna code it at the end of the of the class. We're gonna of the ActionScript class file. We're gonna set all the positions in the code, so it doesn't really matter how the setup is here. It's just for the design overview. So for good time's sake, we're gonna let's just pick a gray color for the background, so I can move the text out here. And we're gonna convert the button graphic into a move clip again, and we're gonna do this by pressing F8 and call it my component button. And we're also gonna have a reference to this one. Oh, okay. So inside this button, I would also want to have a text label. So let's just jump into this and add a text label. So I'm gonna call that label. Have this one a dark gray. Center text. Be ready. We need to choose this embedded font we did before. We don't need to do it, but we just need to make sure it's the text is embedded inside. Let's scale it down like this. So if I had a text field like this and I want to have the width of the text field dynamic, I could also just double click on this square box, and it would fall into to auto size the text field. But for good time's sake, we're gonna make sure the text field has auto size on it by adding that in the code also. Okay, I guess we have the things we need in this component. For the text layer labels here, we can always go in the code and add several instances if we want to have different types of information in the component. So for now, we created the unique instance, and we can reuse that if we want to do that. In this component, I'm also gonna have a small contract button, like a close button, but it just contracts the whole component into a single text layer. So I'm gonna choose a round type for this, and I'm just gonna create a move clip from this and then edit the design inside. So F8 again, and let's call this my component close. Yes. And if we go inside, I'm gonna give it a black transparent look. Remember to keep it black. Yes. And I'm gonna add an extra frame here because I want this close button to change when I press it. It's gonna be like a switch that has two states. So I'm gonna add a small arrow graphic That's gonna be white. Like this. Let's just move it out and cut it down and give it some width. A little more. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna add an extra keyframe for this row so I can rotate it. I'll hold shift down so I rotate it by 90 degrees every time. And just reposition it like this. Okay. So normally I would add a stop frame in here, but at the end of the component creation, we're gonna create a shim class or a shim object that would take all the frame code and put it into a hidden class. And this actually conflicts with the existing frame labels that's left behind. So we're gonna try to keep this component from not having any frame scripts. So when we create this close button inside the class, we're just gonna add a stop code for this when we create it. So this is gonna be lying around here, and we're gonna have like a text field here and something like this here. Let's just add a bit more space by holding the Alt button down. I can drag from the center from the 0 point when I scale it. So my idea was that you had this close button here, and you had some sort of contact button you can press here to email or to have some sort of call to action at least. And then down here we're gonna have several more information that you can open up in the component. Actually, I would also want this to be an auto-size text field, or I could just go in and say, okay, I want this amount of text in it, and then alter that in the code eventually. I think my close button is a bit big. So what I'm gonna do, if I want to select all the frames and edit the whole style from both frames, I'm gonna select this editable multiple frames and set the range to all, and then select everything, or by clicking Control A I can either move a whole animation around, or I can just scale it. Let's scale it like this and move it back into 0, 0. When I deselect it and deselect this one, you can see it applied the transformation for both frames. This is a really cool effect if you want to move animations or a whole animation around with several keyframes. I'm gonna take the pivot point and just double click it so it ends up in the 0, 0 point. Okay. So in the skins editable frame, we only need to have one instance of everything. So let's just delete those other things and take the component a bit apart into a sort of sprite sheet. So the user also always have an overview of everything that is editable. You could in Adobe's own components, you have all the down states and deselected states and enable and then disabled states of buttons in here, so you have an overview of all the interactive states. For this, we're gonna keep it simple and just have an overview of all the instances we're gonna use for the design of the component. Okay, let's put this back to 100%. Control T. This one, and put it here. Let's put this up here. I think we have everything we need. Let's save the component now and I'm gonna press save as, and go into, let's just keep it at on the desktop. On the desktop I'm gonna create a new folder for this project. I'm gonna call it components. Let's just call it component tutorial. Component tutorial. So we don't conflict with the naming of the class folder. Let's just start by creating the class folder. I think we called it components, and we're gonna save the FLA file next to this. So we're gonna call this components project. So in here, eventually we can start by adding more components afterwards, and have one install file for all these components. Yes. Okay. So I think we're gonna start by creating the code. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the component, right click on it, and we're gonna say edit class. Yes, let's just keep that in Flash Builder, Flash Professional, and let's just start out by saving it in the components folder. Make sure we go to the desktop, to the right components folder, and save it in here. Yes. So all components that we're gonna use in Flash Pro needs to extend the same class. So let's start by importing this class. This is a class that comes from the FL package. It's not always you cannot always access this package, this class package, but you can eventually find the package inside Flash Pro. Let me just try to navigate to it so you can find it, and sometimes you need to take it out and import it manually into your class directory. So I navigated to the folder where I can find my FL package that I want to import. As I mentioned before, Flash sometimes finds this automatically in the code editor, but I just find in some instances it won't find it automatically, so we have to put it in manually just to be extra sure. I could just take this URL and refer my Flash project to this URL as a part of the class package. But if I were to move my project to another computer, I might have some problems here. So I'm gonna copy this class package to another directory. You have to be sure that the FL folder contains these folders inside, because there is also another FL folder. So if you search for the FL folder, you need to make sure that this is the right one. The class that we're looking for inside here is this UI component class, and this also exists in the Flex components. So if you search for the class name, you might also find the one in the MX package, which is not the one you want to use. So so it needs to be this this path inside the Flash folder. So Adobe, inside the programs, Adobe Common Configurations, Content Source, ActionScript 3 User Interface, and we're gonna copy the package out and go back to the project and put it inside the project folder. Let's create a separate package for these external classes. So classes, and we're gonna put it in here. Great. So next thing we do, we go back to the project. So now we need to make sure that our Flash project knows how to point to that class directory we just created. So we're gonna go into the publish settings, and on this wrench we can add the new class package. We could just browse to the path, but again that would create some problems if we were to move the project to another computer eventually. So we are gonna add a new patch, new path, and just call it /classes, so it refers relatively to where we are. Yes. Okay. So save it and back to the class. When we go into the FL package, we need to go into core and find this UI component. This is the class that we need to extend from. So this UI component has a couple of functions inside that we need to override in order for the component to work. The component will fire a function as soon as it starts up, and it will fire a function every time it's altered or changed in some way, either with parameters or in size. So the first thing we need to override is called, that was an R too much, override protected function. This is the way you override functions all the time. For the functions you can override. Override protected function, and it's called config UI, which is the initial function that it fires up when the component starts up. So void, and the other function that we need to override function is called draw. So this is being called every time something new happens to the component. Void, like that. Okay. So the last thing that the component needs is inspectable tags. These inspectable tags is handled along with a setter and a getter. So the setter and the getter will be visible inside the component inspection panel. So it's called inspectable, and then the inspectable has a default value equals to something. If this is a string, it would look like this. So just for the sake of showing how it works, I'm just gonna show how I would set up a string. So in our component, we need to have a title. At least we need to have a title. So I'm gonna create a private var called component title. Component title, and that's of course a string. So in order to make the setter and getter, we need to actually make them as functions. So you do it like this: public function get, and then we call to a name that we will recognize later in this inspection panel, and we're gonna call it component title. So it's in the best practice of referring from the private var to the getter and the setter by having the same naming conventions, but just have an underscore that refers to as it was a private var. It's not necessary, but it's just good naming convention. So component title, and we also need to have a setter that's created in a similar way. The difference between the setter and the getter is that the getter has a return value that's the same object as what we put into it. So so inside the setter we put the string inside here. So just to finish the getter off, this is what defines the return object. So let's just use the return, and what we're going to return is actually this private var, which is the backbone of our setter and our getter. Also inside here we're gonna say, okay, I want to set my private var to whatever the string is. And sometimes if you're working with some more advanced classes, you might want to cast the variables inside the setter and the getter, so the setter and getter always knows what type of variable it's working with and throwing around. But inside here it clearly knows that this is a string. We defined that here, and it also knows that this is a string. So if we were to work with movie clips on the stage or move things around that the class eventually wouldn't actually know about, we would need to cast movie clips and sprites on the stage like that. We're gonna come back to that in a bit. So right now we have an inspectable tag for the string, so we can change it, and when you're done setting new parameters on your inspectables, you need to call the draw function again. So when we're gonna set up the text label, we're gonna put that text label in here, and we're gonna say to the text label that the new text label should be this string. So let's start out by adding all the design objects that we'd created for the skin. So these objects, we need to instantiate these in the class manually. Let's just try to start by putting them into the skins folder as intended, and keeping that open in the background so we can see what we actually called it. So up in here we're gonna say I need to create all these new classes. So private var background, that's my component biggie, and private var title, my component title, private var. Let's add the button, my component button, private var close, my component close, I believe I called it. Yes. And I also want to have some extra text fields underneath the title, but I'm just gonna use the structure of the title, so I'm gonna reuse that for the subtext and subtitles. Private var text 1, my component title, and let's have 2 of these. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do after we have defined these variables is to instantiate them, and let's just copy paste the whole chunk here, and we're gonna do it in the config UI, because in all components, the config UI is where we set up all configurations and the whole component. So we're just gonna paste in these lines here, just gonna move them in, delete these like this, yes, and then here, just copy pasting, yes, again copy paste the brackets in, and after this we're gonna add them to the stage. So we need to start off by adding the background, so we make sure that the background is underneath everything else, and afterwards we're just gonna copy paste the code in, like this. Okay, so when we look at this, we know we have 2 interactive elements, that's the button and the close button. So let's just start off by setting these to button mode true. Like this, and we really need to remember to call the super.config UI, else the whole thing will break, and when we start asking for the components width and height, it's just gonna say it's not a number. So yeah, let's just auto complete that. So always remember to fire the super config UI first to make sure this config UI, the original functionality of the config UI, has been initiated. Okay. So let's set up the positions of all the design. Let's set up the whole design actually of the component. So we know the background that's already in 0, 0, so we're not gonna move anything on the X and Y here, but we are gonna set the width to this dot width. And the same for the height. So again, a lot of copy pasting here. Then we're gonna put in the button. Oh. And we're gonna set that X to somewhere around the middle, so we're gonna say bg.width divided by 2. Let's isolate that. And so when it's halfway in, we're actually gonna push it further back, so we're gonna say subtract also your own width divided by 2, because the button has a 0, 0 point in the corner. Okay. Also for the Y, we're gonna say bg.height minus button dot height minus 10. And let's set the title. Title X should just be 10. And we know that the two other text fields should actually be placed in the same margin as the title. So let's just add these in here like this. So title.y is equal to 10, and text1.y is equal to title.y plus title.height plus 10. And similar for this text2, we're just going to reference relatively to text1. So text1 will be placed underneath the title, and the text2 will be placed on 10 pixels underneath text1. Okay. Save the class. We're missing the close button. Let's put that in. So the close button should be X is equal to bg.width minus close dot width minus 10. So at the far end of the component, push it back the width of the close button minus 10 pixels, or sometimes I actually do it like this, so I know exactly how far in I want to have the element. And I'm also gonna do that up here. Just I think it gives a better overview to have it like this. Auto-completed, yes, okay. Whoa. Just cram it in like this. Okay. Good. I think we're ready to test the look of the component. Yeah, let's just check out how it looks like now, and then add the inspectables afterwards. So let's start out by just putting the font into the private folder. That's not something we want to mess with. Add in an instance, and what we see here is the avatar through the first frame, and let's just ignore that for now and when we fire it, we can see that everything has been positioned correctly. The close button still needs to have a Y value. We haven't set that yet, and we also need to remember to put in a stop frame in the close button as we talked about. So remember, no no timeline code, because that the shim object doesn't want the timeline code to be in. So yeah, here y is equal to 10, like this, and up here we're just gonna say stop. Actually, the close button should also have some sort of interactive state. So let's, I mean the button should also have an interactive state. Later on, we're gonna put that in later on. So let's just for now put in a stop here and see how it looks like. Yeah, the close button has been put in the right place and everything else is correctly. So what I was talking about is that I really want my button to have sort of a rolled over state. So the background should have another keyframe where we can change the color, and the text layer should just be as it is. So in the second frame, we're just gonna put a white color here. So it just goes to white, and we're gonna code this functionality later on. For now, let's try to make the inspectable tags for the text fields, so we can put in text. And when we're done with that, we're gonna check out how the live preview will work inside the Flash authoring. The title, as I showed here, you can put in inspectable tags for all sorts of variables, so we can change the variable and have the variable work as a sort of a data container that moves the data around. Actually, I'm gonna make some sort of shortcut here, because we could also just say that the return value of this component title should be label.text. So whatever is inside here, it will return that. And because the class doesn't know anything about what label actually is, we're just gonna say text field, and remember to autocomplete that, so give it a space here, and before before the end, just press Control space, or when you're in the middle of the code here, text field Control space, and here it comes. The code completion will help you import the object. So when I did that, it automatically imported the text field. You can also manually go in and import the text field class. At least you need to remember to do that if you don't use the autocomplete. So we're gonna use the text field class here to cast the label. So we're telling Flash right now that the label is actually a text field. So it can pull out the right properties for that text. And down in the setter, we're not going to use this private variable anymore. We're just going to set the text field to be the string, and then afterwards just draw the component again. So let's just delete this one for now. We're also going to do this for the to.text field, so let's just copy paste this whole thing 2 times, and in the top we're going to say this is the title, this is the text one, this what I'm writing here is the default text that shows up in the component when you drag it in the first time. So component title, we're going to say component text 1 here. Put that in there, change it to 2, and change this to 2. And remember to point at the correct fields here. So we have text 1 here, text 1 there, text 2, and text 2. So Okay, so now we have the proper inspectable tags for the text fields, and we also have a text field inside the button. So let's just add that one. So we're gonna copy paste one more and say my button has a label inside, and this should be button label. Yeah, I actually think that's that component button label like this, or just button label for simplicity's sake. And so let's try to go out and see how the live preview mode looks like. So what the live preview actually is it's actually showing showing the SWF working with the code, with the resize code that we just did inside the Flash authoring tool. So the first thing we need to do is to export a SWF from our component object, and let's call it anything, just anything but that we can remember, and we'll put it next to the project. Just remember where I put it, because we're gonna go into the component definition, and in this live preview tab we're gonna point to the Swift file we just did. There's two options regarding this activating the live preview. Either you can have an external Swift file that you need to move along with your component when you ship the component, or you move when you compile the component. But we're gonna choose the embedded one, so at the end we're gonna have one component file that we can install from. So yeah, we just need to refer to the to this SWF. So we press OK, and it would embed the whole code. And right now we can actually see the component working. Let's just delete it from the stage and again drag it in. So in this this example, you can see that we have all our inspectable tags here, including the standard ones. And when we start resizing the component, the whole code gets activated inside the draw function. So that's pretty cool. It seems to work. So if we're gonna go back to the code, I just need to check. I can see here button label. It's only getting but, which is kind of funny, but we actually wanted to have just a bit more of that word, so it makes a bit more sense. So let's go up to the button here and say that text field button dot label should be auto size, and we could just say that this should be left or center, but for good reasons you can't always remember what every string is for these kind of parameters. So a good way is to just say text field auto size dot, and then you get auto completion on that one, and we're gonna just choose the center. So let's for the change to happen, we need to delete it and then go in and create a new SWF and go that way around. If we chose the option where we just linked to an external SWF, we would have the change right now, but because we chose the embedded one, we need to go in and update it and embed a new one. So right now I can see that my button label is actually acting really strange. As I can see, the auto size didn't really work, so something must be wrong. Let's go into the button. If we have a multi-line or something like that, yeah, exactly. We need to set this to single line so it wraps correctly. And let's go back in and export a new SVF. for the live preview. Remember it was embedded, so we need to embed a new one by going to component definition, live preview set, press update, okay, and this actually seemed to have fixed the problem. So let's take a look at how it works with the mouse interactions. We have some hand cursor here and hand cursor here, and actually I can see that the label interferes with the mouse event, so let's go into the code and fix that. So we're going to say that the buttons should have no mouse children, like this. And if we just export it right now, we should actually see the effect. So it seems to have worked fine. Okay, so yeah, let's go back and see if we could add that close functionality where we could contract the panel. So the first thing we need to do is add some add event listener mouse event, and let's add a click on close click. Whoa, like that. And mouse event. I usually make the initials of the event type, so I don't always have E. I think it's a good practice if you want to have some sort of overview of what type of event you're working with right now. If you have a lot of events working, not specifically in the same handler, but just all in all. So my close button needs to have some sort of functionality where we have two states. We need to have a contracted state and an expanded state. So let's start out by adding a new state, Boolean state here. So we say it's closed. Let's add Boolean here. So if it's closed, do this, else do that. And inside here we want to I really want to have a function that I could call elsewise. If I don't click on the button, I would want to be able to call this contract function from code. So let's add a public function that the user could code up against. Let's call it toggle close. Like that. And in the toggle close, I would like to have a boolean, so like this. So if the bool is true, else do this. So if the boolean is true, if I should close, if I should toggle the close, I need to say my background height is equal to right underneath the title. So let's say title dot y plus title dot height plus 10. And if we need to expand the whole thing again, I would say that it should go back to this dot height. Yeah. So in here we're gonna say whatever this is, just put it in the function and fire the function. So if closed is true, set if closed to false. the other way around. So what this handler actually does is it's gonna evaluate this this boolean that we set up here, and if it's one state, it should switch it to the other state, and the other way around, and then just reevaluate the functionality after we've switched it. So when I come to think about it, it would actually be nice to have this function firing in the live preview. So let's go down and say let's add a new inspectable. And this new inspectable should not be a string, so it should just be true here. And close is closed. Let's just call it that. It's closed. And of course, this is not a string. This is a boolean. So let's add that in the functionality. And here we're gonna just refer to this is closed variable that we have up here. Is closed. Yes, and so after we've set the is closed, I would really want to fire the command. So toggle close should be fired again with this functionality inside it, and that should actually work. Let's try to go into let's try to export this in live preview and see if it works. So let's start by checking out the SWF and see how the close button is reacting, and we can see that it's actually working fine. And we want this to work in live preview as well. So we're gonna export a new SWF, update the live SWF, and go into the component definition and also remember to update it in here. Update, okay, and embed it. Yes. So if we delete this one, drag in a new one, and go to the properties and press enable, press is closed, this should actually be contracting the component. But as I seem to remember, I draw the call I call the draw function at the bottom of the setter. So this actually goes in and override the height. So we need to make sure that that if it's closed, it should ignore this. Like this. So let's re-export a new SWF really quickly. Yes. Go into component definition and update it. We can see it actually works right now, and if I go in and say is closed and check this, I can see the background is jumping up and down, and whatever is following the background actually seems to be following this checkbox. So that might be because the draw function is being called, and the button is following the background here. So instead of having the button following the background, we need to make the button follow the size of the avatar. So again, let's go in and update it. And go into component definition, update it in here also. And really quickly check it out. So it seems to be working fine now. We need to remember to shut off all the other elements. So in this toggle close, when the height is getting collapsed, I want the text 1, the text 2, and the button to be visible false. like this. And when we expand it, it should reverse that. Okay. Again, we don't need to update the live preview every time. We can just compile the clip just to see how it works. But for fun, I guess I really want to see how it works inside the flash routing tool. Again, update it. And delete this one, drag in a new one, a fresh one. And it works exactly how we want it. The only thing we're missing right now is just to have the close button react to that state change. So remember we put in 2 frames inside this close button. So let's jump to the next frame when the state changes. So let's take the close tag here and say okay, close dot go to and stop. In the contracted mode I want it to be 2, and in the expanded mode I want it to go back to 1. And here we can just go to the scene, just press export. So works fine. We could also reverse that. That might make sense in some cases, but let's just keep it as it is. Let's make sure that the button. I think did we add an extra state change to this button? Yeah, we added this highlight on the button. So let's go into the code and add the functionality for this. We're gonna take the button, just add an event listener for this. Also a mouse event. Rollover on button over private function on button over. Avoid that one. Mouse event. Mouse event. And for this we're just gonna say that the button should go to and stop 2. And let's cover then that for the out function. Out. Set this to out. Go back to 1. So in this situation, some might say that it would be easier just to create a button where I have all these predefined rollover states and hit states and click states. But I actually tend to really want to have some animation on the rollover and the rollout. So what I actually did, I went in and I created this this class that I could extend my buttons from, and this class would actually automatically go in and make the rollover functionality. So when I rolled over the move clip would play animation to the end, and when I rolled out the animation would roll back to the first frame. So this would happen automatically on the run when if you were to roll out before the animation was done. It was just gonna roll back organically, so you wouldn't have some sort of a jump in the animation. And the neat thing about this class is also that you only need to have one animation, the in animation. You don't have to have an out animation. And this also allows me to skip all this this add event listener code functionality. The only thing I have to put on my buttons is actually a click command. So that's also really cool about this class. I can link to this class in the attachment of this file, or in the comments. So, but let's keep it simple in this class and continue as we go along. Let's see what we need. We have the button button effect on right now, and we can see it's working as it should. This one is working as it should. So actually I believe we're somewhere done with the code. So let's export it one last time, I guess, to the live preview. And remember to update it here. Yes. So let's see how that looks like. Yes. And we can close it. Fire it up. So some of my thoughts for this one would be that this might work like some sort of a contact box or something, so we can go in and say, okay, my button label should be email me, and the title text could be something like my name. Text one could be my email, and this could be my website. It doesn't look totally pretty, but imagine you could have a lot of these guys quickly distribute out on a website, and maybe have them closed, and you could easily go in and say something like this. So we have different functionality, and you can press email or contact or whatever on these guys. You can also, of course, code it much more advanced, so they would follow each other when we expand them. But for the simplicity's sake, this is just to show coded functionality that works inside the live preview. So one of the last things we need if we jump into the component one last time, jump to frame 1. We need the shim, which is a really strange object. Adobe has named it the mystical shim object because it does some pretty awesome stuff, but still it's sort of strange if you're not familiar with building components. It is actually strange. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a new symbol, and this is just my component shim, and this should be a move clip with a class. Let's set this as a sprite. I believe we need to do that, and okay. And what we need to do with this shim is as soon as we set this convert to compile clip, the shim is gonna sort of suck all the code from the component into itself, sort of have some locked instance of every functionality that the component has. So right now it compiled this new object, so we can delete the old one. So if we were to try to compile the component with both objects inside, it would come up with an error saying that oh, this has the same class as this sprite we just created. So we're gonna delete the original sprite and just have this one, and we're actually gonna put the shim inside the private folder, because that is again something that we don't want to mess with. The only thing we need to remember to have the Swift is to have the shim inside the last layer. As soon as I drop this in, it creates this little hidden object that we can't get to and can't find. So this is a hidden object that again contains all the code and all the functionality, and it's going to be carried along with the component every time we use it and every time we distribute it. So this would prevent other users from getting to your code, taking your source, or altering your source. So it's gonna be a precompiled binary code that would also help you get faster compile times if you have a lot of components inside your project. Every time the compiler comes to one of these clips, it would skip it because it's already compiled data. So that would also help speed up your project. So as it seems now, the component is actually done. Let's just try to test it one last time. And if I delete this and put in a new one, it would be reset in size and text fields. So it works great. So the last thing we need to do now is to export this component. And for that we need to have some sort of a descriptor file like we do when we create apps with Flash. We need to have some sort of XML-ish descriptor file pointing to all the assets and pointing to the objects inside the compiled clip. So let me just get that XML that we need to write, and let me come back again. So I found the chunk of XML that we need to put in the descriptor file. So the first thing I want to do is to open a notepad and just paste in that XML code. And I would encourage you to do something like this: either find the descriptor code on the net, or just copy mine, because it is a bit tedious just to write everything down every time, and you can't always remember exactly what to use here. So for the name, I'm just gonna put in the name of the component. And here we can put in the name of the author, and here we need to put in the version, the least Flash version you need to have it for it to work. Some description: this could be some sort of a long text describing what the component does. The UI axis: this is just a description of where you can find the component, in which menu you can find it. And this line is actually the most important line that we need to focus on, because the name of the file that it's gonna be looking at is the file project that we're working in. So that's just gonna be relative to this one. And this line actually says wherever the Flash is, this one, you need to point at where I can find the classes for the component. So that's gonna be /components, like this. And we're gonna go in, we're gonna save as, and we're gonna save it next to the file, which is in this folder. We're gonna call it my component. And normally we would say something like this would be an XML, but this is actually an MXR file. That is something that Adobe has as sort of a descriptor file for components. So let's just press save and close it. So from here we would have two options to install the component. The easiest way is definitely to navigate to the MXI file and just double click on it, and that would bring us into the Adobe Extension Manager, and right away just ask us where we want to save the extension. We're not gonna do that because I want to show you how you do it manually. So you would go into the Flash Pro, and go to Help and Manage Extensions. If it's the first time you load this window up, it would definitely take some time, but you need to wait for that. As you can see, I've already pre-installed some components I use. Yours might not look the same when you open it up, but we need to go to the file, and to press package ZXP extension, and navigate to the MXI file. Press open. And then it's gonna ask us where we want to save the component, and we're just gonna save it next to that. It's gonna say OK. And right now the component is actually packed and ready. If we would get an error here, you need to go back to the XML file or the MXI file and check if all the references to your code and to your project is exactly as it should. So we're gonna just press install and install the component as it is. We can see that the description is as we wanted it, accept, and it says okay, it's successfully installed. So what you so you can, down here you can see that's sort of the description of where you can find the component in the Flash. So we need to actually close Flash right now and reopen it. So we're gonna just create a new project to see if we can install put in the components here. Press components, and in the bottom here we can see that my component is here, and we can drag it in, and we can see where it's working as it should. We have all the options and the text fields. So I can see there's one of the text fields that's actually missing some embedded fonts. So we might want to go back and check if all the text fields has the right embedded fonts and so on. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna leave that to you. So that's the end of the long tutorial. I'm gonna be putting up a short version of this workflow, so it doesn't take as long. I'm not gonna talk through that one. It's just gonna be a quick guide on how to get from A to Z through all the steps. And I'm gonna be pasting in all the code, so you can just take in the whole code in one chunk and edit it where you want to do that. So thank you.